Okay. Robert's not going to be here.
I don't believe so.
You're going to have your own meeting. Wouldn't have been...
I was doing fine until you showed up.
Oh. Well, I can go.
No. Let's get through this, Commissioner.
Today is Tuesday. Got that part right. Well, it says here, I don't know why they put the early, because I did want to hear what went on at your meetings, but we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Let's go to public comment and moment of silence. Not public comment. Yeah, the public can talk to the Lord. That's all right. I pledge
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What happens when you get more mature? You don't know which direction you're going. Now, says public comments. Anybody got any comments to make from the public? I see no motion, no movement. Darn it. I was hoping to have something. Approval of the minutes. Of next week's minutes. I guess there's something before that, isn't it? Administrative business. We've changed that a few meetings ago. It says demographic and taxation report. And what initiated this, I gave something to Mark, and he told me he thought it was probably outdated. It was 2001. And I like it better now that they've done it because they've done it in color. Good for the more mature. Okay, Mark, did you want to say something on that?
Well, I did want to touch on just a couple of items in there. As we're getting ready to kick off our budget, and we have discussed the year of the taxpayer, and I think maybe 2 meetings ago, Commissioner Smith had pointed out that while we do want to be judicious with the expenditure of public funds, we are pretty conservative with Leavenworth County, and this study coming out from the Kansas Association of Counties was pretty timely in that it notes in here that out of 105 counties, Leavenworth County is 103rd in the amount of tax we collect per capita at $297. So I thought that was good to point out that the county does do a good job of trying to keep our tax impact on our citizens as low as we can, and out of 105, we're 103, so we're in the bottom 2 to 3%. There's a lot of other good information in there that if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to go over it with them, and I'm sure we'll, as we go through our budget, that some of that information may be helpful. I also provided the board with just some general information about Leavenworth County specifically. It talks about our valuation inside the cities and outside, population, residential household count, and I thought that might be good information as we are moving forward with the reformation of the Port Authority, and the county councilor is working on that for your consideration coming up here in the next week or two. So again, just some good general information I thought I'd share with the board.
I thought it was an interesting report. I got it back in 2001. I saved that, and I'm going through cabinet removing stuff. And one of the things I thought was interesting, they said our population has grown from 2,688, 418 residents in 2000, then went to 2,972, and that was from residents. When did they word that? Or what they worded, it went up a couple, 200,000 or something like that. But it's a very good report. And I think anybody could probably get it if they go to the state directory, and it says research report, demographics and taxation. This was 217 to 218. It always gives so many good figures, and the problem I see is a lot of people want to converse and come up with their opinions. And the interesting thing is, we that serve up here, we can't keep up with it. There's no way you're going to keep up with it. That's what your clerk's for, your register of deeds, or all your other people to come up and give you a dissertation on what the rule is, what it means, and you can then do it, go out and get it yourself. So, okay, so that takes care of, I thought from now on we'd hold it to the end for our
That's fine.
things that we want to bring up.
That'd be fine,
Sure,
Commissioner.
that's all right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the next thing is approval of the consent agenda, approval of the comments. A minute, please. That's
Do you have any questions on bills or anything?
Well, I was just going to hand out general information. I don't know if people like to know general information, how many thousands of dollars we pay out. I don't know if that's important to them. Could be. I had a question mark under when I was talking about a motion was made by Commissioner Smith, second by Holland, to go into a session with our lawyers, and motion made and seconded, and that was 3 votes. And then they came out, this is just for our basic information, they came out and did a motion that they had returned, and no decisions were made. Now, I see this with school districts, every kind of board, and sometimes bothers me. Then a motion was made by Commissioner Smith and seconded by Commissioner Holland to allow legal counsel to proceed as discussed in executive session. Sounds like there should be something said that, of course, you're memorizing this, but they're telling you now to do what was done in executive session. And I see school boards do it all the time. I don't go to them, but I monitor them. And I'm just wondering if that's something that we shouldn't look at in a little more detail. How can you come out and then recommend? But everybody does it. Not saying that's good or bad. Nothing against our commissioners. So something in the future to, I don't know why it puzzled me, but, and last session was 441,000. I mean 300 and some thousand we paid out. This month or this week is 441,000. And you can always get a copy of that, I guess, and sit and look at it and say, we spend a lot of money. So,
Well, if you notice, Commissioner, some of them were pretty high, like the $78,000 for public works for design on the
Right.
bridges. I mean, so it's...
and it's all money apparently well spent.
Well, I think bridges are.
In the past there has not been some.
Yeah.
I don't
We
think
don't want to be in that category.
No, I'm not. Oh, he did. I thought he was going to say something. Do we want to talk about Schmidt? Yes or no? No. And a letter. You saw the letter that being proposed. Yeah. For me to sign and pass on. Check register. And I guess there's OCB. It's the same group that's signing them off, right? Okay. I'll go for a
Are you ready for a motion for?
I want to second it. Yeah, motion.
All right. I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Next is, now let's hold off on number 7 and we'll bring it up. Something about buying equipment. You'll come and introduce yourself to the public and say what you want to say on this.
In 2015, we began buying new election equipment for Leavenworth County. And in 2017, I was going to buy some new poll tablets to be used at each one of our polling sites, also for advanced voting. We did not purchase those in 17. In December of 2017, there was a board order to move $50,000, I believe, to the Equipment Reserve Fund for the purchase of the poll tablets. In this year's budget, I also had budgeted some for the tablets, so along with what was budgeted for 18 and the depreciation that was, or the equipment reserve money that was moved in December of 17, I have the funds available to purchase the new poll tablets. There are 3 bids in front of you, and I would like to go with the no ink tablets at $68,000. It is the lowest bid. There are only 3 companies that are even available to purchase this type of election equipment because everything has to be certified through the Secretary of State's office in conjunction with being certified federally. I don't know that it was necessary with our purchasing policy since it was budgeted. I don't know that it was particularly necessary that I bring this forward, but because it was a big purchase, I thought it was probably a good idea to make it official. So.
But we changed the purchasing policy, so department heads didn't have to come in here for this. If it's approved in the budget and they follow the purchasing policy, they don't.
But I never heard of the purchase.
Okay. And I think it's been working well. Haven't heard any problems.
Well, just because it was a substantial purchase, I decided to bring it forward. So I don't really need a motion. It was for
Information only?
it was information only.
Pertaining to us, you're keeping us informed that you were going by the rules. But I do have a question.
All right.
How are we coming on the letter to our legislators about going to all ballots sent in?
I did send a letter to the legislators. I also talked to them personally. I don't know.
It's all right, it's not a big deal. We want to go after small businesses. Like,
So,
very good.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Couldn't sleep at all last night, just thinking when she's going to come in. Okay. One of the reasons I'm late is on the next thing coming up, and I had talked to Mark on this. I went out and I had a tape measure and I was measuring our trees out there because I saw Megan out there measuring trees. And I was just wondering, was she going after her yard? And I turned that off as I was doing papers. I'm sorry. That's the signal in it. Hey, dummy, turn your sound on. Thank you. Because I thought, maybe she'll go for her trees first, but this is what I had to go over when I got back from my trip, and I said, oh, this is interesting. So, Megan, would you mind coming forward and giving the populace the dissertation?
I'll have to change your tardy then to excuse.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Just so that you know, this is our behavioral health grant and our comprehension grant for the fiscal year of 2019. It is, I guess, KDOC statute that we do get board approval for these. They extended the minimum page requirement to 35 pages, so that is why we have as many copies as we do. But that's also just explains how much work we do within the community and what our goals are for the agency for the year. So
I figured part of it was it's an important, and we're not paying.
that is, we are not paying. This is all state funding from the state of Kansas. We have already received our allotment letter. So it is no funds to the county. This is all from the state. And then for the behavioral health grant, which is also attached, those are funds that I'm asking the state to pay for. The state receives a $3 million grant. That's a federal grant. And so throughout the course of the years, they find ways that counties can utilize that money to enforce behavioral health services to help community members that are in the community on probation stay in treatment and be able to get those services so that they're not lacking those services, which means they're not getting themselves better in the community. So,
Have any thoughts? One of the things I thought was interesting is I'm sure there's you'll be talking to Mark, so that's just a lot of paperwork to review and create thoughts. So you need a motion that we would.
I mean, I guess more than anything, I would need your signature, but I imagine you have to have a motion in order to have a signature.
Are you ready for a motion?
Yes, I didn't see a place for a signature, but that's right.
Well, that's another stack of papers.
I was going to say, I have the originals.
Oh, okay, very good.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan competitive grant application and authorize the chairman to sign it
Second
for
that.
community corrections.
I'll second that. Vote aye.
Yes.
Aye. We don't do this very often. Allow one person to sign. That's scary.
That's why you got the title.
I also need the
Yes, that's what I had one sheet of paper on that. Is this at? Oh, right now. Okay. Post County only. That's me. Date is 04/24. Oh, thank you. You didn't want that? Oh, shoot. Okay. So that took care of the two. Next will be presentations and discussion.
I think I need to make a motion to approve the behavior health grant.
Well, the one wasn't required, was it?
Yes.
Oh, it's required on both? Okay, I just signed for both already, so that makes that one illegal.
Oh, no, she's got another stack of papers.
That makes.
Yeah.
Oh, don't matter. Go ahead.
Are you ready for a motion, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman?
I'm ready.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for behavioral health grant for budget year of 2019.
I'll second that. We got to slow down. We said we were going to be 7 o'clock.
I can get you to 7, just the rest of this stuff.
How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Hers is easy. We had this stuff to go through. I mean, when we're getting money from somewhere else, it's pretty easy, Commissioner.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a colored picture. Yeah, I was impressed. places.
It'd be nice if we had grants to sign every meeting, bringing money in. I mean, for audit, the whole county, every department.
Okay, next is presentations and discussion items. Want to cover these three before we get into personal ones?
The funding request?
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, let's get that.
We can do that first, okay?
Thank you, Megan.
And the first one is the Little Stranger Christian Church. Anybody here wants to talk about Little Stranger?
I do better standing up.
Standing is good.
Well, I'm Carrie Ritchie, and I represent Little Stranger Christian Church Society. And last time I was here speaking to the commission was in 2014 when I was asking for a letter of support to get Little Stranger Christian Church and Cemetery listed as a Register of Historic Kansas Places. And in November 2014, we were notified that we are a registered Kansas Historic Place. We were also nominated for the National Register of Historic Places, and in January of 2015, we received that recognition. We're the oldest wooden church on the Kansas register. There are 4 older churches, but they're all stone. We have raised, since that time, over $38,000 through generous donations from our community and in fundraisers. We've received a $66,000 Heritage Trust Fund grant, which allowed us to put a new roof on our building and to replace or repair the foundation, replacing the sill beam completely. And we've also joined the Kansas Rural Community Foundation, which is based out of Wamego, which is another platform for us to put our information out there and take donations from. Our next major step is this fall, we will apply for our second Heritage Trust Fund grant in order to do the siding. And I'm laying all this background to get to what we have requested for. In preparation for the siding, we'd like to get the windows back to what they were previously, and also our front door. And there are 6 double-hung windows in the building that have had the top section removed and boarded up. This is a current picture of the building, if you're not familiar with it, with
Yep.
the new foundation and new roof on it. And you can see the windows are boarded up. And what we will do is get them back to looking like that.
Well, that's an old one. Yeah.
That's an old picture.
Are you talking about the people?
No.
Oh, I thought maybe you
No,
talking
we
about-
can't do that.
You can't do that?
No, I'm sorry. I'm
Well,
in
it says-
building
It
restoration.
says a Christian church.
Is that you?
Well, I maybe can help you out there. But, so we do have the top section of the windows. They're stored in the building, but they need to be put back in. We'll have to replace the trim and do some work to get them functioning again. And when we do the trim work, we always have to have it special made. As you can imagine, 150-year-old trim work isn't stock at Home Depot. The measurements are all different. If we did some soffit work and I had to have special pieces cut for it, which is expensive because you have to have the blades cut and that sort of thing. We had in 2015, we had Hernley and Associates, Stan Hernley from Lawrence. They're an architectural engineer firm that did a site complete site plan for us to help us list out expenses that we would incur as we do this restoration. And this is the figures that I went from were from that site plan, and also in working with the preservation office at the State Historical Society. They've been fantastic to advise us and help us in the project. So that is where I came up with the amount per window to do the restoration on. So
You thought it was exciting meeting with those historical people?
yeah, I you don't make any jokes. I have a history degree from William Jewell College, so I like history.
I'm talking about preservation. There's a difference between history and preservation.
Well, that's true, but they've been great.
It's big money.
Yeah, oh, I know. Believe you me, I'm trying to preserve a building.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a cheap project, but I think what I find really exciting about this project is the community support we've had. Doug's been to a couple of our soup socials, and we have a pie social coming up June 2nd. We were recognized.
In this building?
We'll have it on the ground.
On the ground.
We won't have it, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, we've done that. This will be our 3rd annual. We're celebrating our 150th year this year. We were recognized last year before our pie social on KCUR, National Public Radio. They came out and did a spot on it, and we had a lot of people. Matter of fact, we ran out of pie. We had so many people.
That's bad.
That is bad. This year we will not run out of pie. We always have good homemade pie, music, live music, and people have a good time.
Yep.
So
Good.
I feel like it has brought a lot of people in from the community, the county. A lot of people come in, oh, I just love being able to sit here and visit, and that's what this building is about, is to get people. That's what it's always been about. So that's why we are here. We're trying to get it back to the restored form so we can hold more things inside.
Mm-hmm.
We've got getting the roof and the foundation on has been fantastic. It's just made
Enclosed. Anything to enclose it.
Yeah. So we're getting water damage inside. We're not getting that anymore. And we've also been working on the cemetery, resetting the stones, and getting them back into shape. I don't know if you're familiar with Jamie Quinley, but he retired from the VA cemetery and is very experienced and knowledgeable in resetting the stones, and he's been volunteering his time to come and help us do that work. And we've had people volunteer their backhoe to come in and help us lift the big 2,500-pound stone and things like that. So the community has been awesome in the work being done here. So
Very good.
yeah.
Since you've eaten there and done things there, do you have any questions?
Don't want to see it happen too fast. I kind of like going to them dinners.
You doing a motion to delay this?
No, I mean,
Dinners.
don't we have till May 1st to collect
May 1st.
applications for these funds? And then we'll, after that.
Yeah, we'll put together a compilation of all the requests and get them back to the board. I think we were planning on bringing that on May 8th for your consideration to determine how you want to spend the remaining historic.
Well, we need to take care of the $40,000 ones first out of the 42 that's left and make a short meeting. I had a question here. So you feel you're going to be capable of handling utilities and all those things the rest of your life there?
My life?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for another 50 years.
Yeah, I hope. No, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that we did get the electrical power restored to the property. We don't have it hooked to the building yet, but we have a security light now, which is really the Leavenworth Jefferson donated their time to put it back because we had it before, so they reestablished it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the grant also. We have to say that we can maintain this building
That's
for
good.
5 to 10 years out and have a plan for it. So yes, we want to continue these fundraisers. Right now what we do is 2 soup socials a year and 1 pie social. And, you know, we've been able to raise, we average about raising $2,000 per social, which helps us maintain our expenses. And we have a lot of volunteer help. I mow the cemetery for nothing.
You look like you're a mower. Are you out for hire? I got a lot of mowing. But are you
I got enough
capable?
mowing of my own to do.
Are you capable of getting off and using the weed eater instead of running
Yeah,
into the
I
building?
do.
There you go.
I'm kind of particular about all of that.
Yeah,
so.
they love to run into buildings. So.
But yeah, you know, and for what it's worth, in 1988, the Leavenworth County Historical Society put a plaque on this building recognizing it as a relevant part of the Leavenworth local history.
That's the plaque right there, the plaque. Yeah, that's nice.
And I do think it was like one of the first buildings in this area at that time. So
Now, I know these guys weren't here in 1800s,
no.
but that's what I still love about the courthouse. They put up all these pictures. Be nice to see. I'm sure some name in there is going to bounce. Oh, I know that name.
Yeah, I've got a list of all the people that
Well, that's
are in
good.
that picture.
And you didn't bring that to us.
No,
so.
I'll bring it to you the next time, though.
Thanks for the
Because it
memory.
is interesting. I think one of them might be a Dempsey.
Dempsey,
Remember Ambrose Dempsey?
are you still doing grave sites out there?
No, I don't do burials.
Don't do burials.
No. I'm not in the burying business. I'm just in the caretaking business. Part of that problem is the last burial was in 1963.
I was going to
thereabouts.
say, it looks like there's fairly new.
Yeah, but the part of that problem is some of the stones have been knocked over and moved, and so we aren't real sure where some of the graves are. And so that would be my biggest concern if you tried to bury someone there. So. But
Well, that might bring in more family members to like the, you know.
could be.
You can find the graves. That's not
Yeah.
in today's society, very easy to find graves. And then all of a sudden you don't find one.
Yeah. I like to say the great part about the tombstones that are out there, it's a history book on the tombstones.
Yeah.
It tells you all.
Sure is.
The earliest burial was in 1867 and the most recent in 1963. So you got a lot of history right there.
Yep. Okay.
Commissioner, I just got one question. Does the township not help fund that cemetery maintenance?
That's an interesting question. If it is abandoned, they will fund it.
That's their rule.
I think that's a statute.
It is?
Yeah.
Why not
And-
ask for their opinion?
And they have done in previous, have funded some tree removal for us. But once we were listed on the register, they wanted, I don't know if I want to say control, but
All right.
that's not their, I don't know. They wanted to come in with a brush hog and mow the cemetery, and you can't do that.
Come on.
Yeah. So I mow it because I like doing it. And hopefully someone will like doing it after I'm too old to crawl on my lawnmower. And so that will be our plan, to keep finding. We have a lot of young people in the community around that are really interested in older things. So hopefully we can keep sucking them in. But as far as the township, my understanding, it has to be listed as abandoned, and we aren't abandoned.
Must be some other way.
I would think the township board would want to be a part of that.
I think I'd be writing a letter to the state saying we would like to participate occasionally, helping out one of our landmarks. Might do that.
That's a good
I don't know if
suggestion.
they'll listen to you because they're after easy money. They don't get any of that money. But. Okay, I appreciate that. Very good.
Any other questions I can?
All I had written down, are you locked into the historical requirements? Because all the museums that I belong to in Kansas are, the molding can be this kind of molding.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to follow the Interior Department's standards of restoration. But I don't find them confining. I find them being, like, to replace the siding, we can't go slap aluminum siding on it. And really, if we did, it would destroy the building because it would cause too much moisture behind there. That building has been there for 150 years with the wood siding, and it will stay that way if it can breathe. And I don't find them very confining. Yeah, it's hard to match the molding and that sort of thing, but they're very, I don't know, understanding in
To a degree they are, and they have to be.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, this is a wonderful way, because all the siding has to come off, right?
Yeah, it will come off, and what is usable, we will replace on the front side, make one side with that, and then we will manufacture siding for the rest of the building. Which, when I worked on the soffit, I went over to Bloomer's Hardwoods across the river, and they were able to match the molding pieces on the soffit and manufacture the wood for me there. So, and I have.
There's several companies around. You have to buy the blades.
Yes, and that's the expensive part.
That's the expensive part. They don't cut the wood. So, because we just did that for one of the other museums in town.
Yeah.
The guy I've known for years over there has a wonderful operation. And it doesn't take them long.
No, once I got to pick out my slab of wood for the soffit piece. It was like a 12-foot long piece, and they said, okay, which piece you want? So I picked it out. The hard part is when you look at the wood that's on the building now, there's not a knot in it because it was old growth wood that they used.
Right.
It's hard to find old growth wood. We're looking at that and trying to repair the front doors, and it doesn't have a knot in it, and it may have knots in it now.
A lot of the boards have contours to them, too.
Yeah.
So, okay. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
We'll make a decision on what second, I guess it is, what we're going to do. And that was another part of the discussion I was going to have. Did you need the picture back?
No, you may keep it.
Good. We'll use that for
a reminder.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for your time. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Now, National Fred Harvey Museum. Nice to see you, Jeannie.
I'm Jeannie Hazels, and I am the chairperson of the Fred Harvey Museum and home at 624 Olive. We have been restoring the home since '01, but we're all volunteers, and we desperately work every week, but it's because we all are volunteers. It's been a long process. We have a heat pump system that has been failing over the years, and I have written up a proposal for a grant to help us with the heat pump, to replace the heat pump system on the first floor, which would be a more adequate replacement so we wouldn't have so many of them break and leak, and that way we could, when we restored and tried to restore the floors, they leak, and so we go one step forward and two steps back. So this is my request to help get some grant money to restore some of the heating system.
Do you have any questions, Douglas?
No, it's a simple request.
Well, I do. I hope you severely push this gentleman down that did this estimate. Not a Harvey house. I've been told and been beat around by the Harvey people for years that this is a Harvey home, but it's a part of a museum now. A Harvey house is a restaurant. Now, if you would clarify that, Harvey House is a restaurant?
No, it's a home.
This one here. This one's a home. But out on the
It
road.
was a home that he lived in and he raised we'd
Yes,
like to.
but out in Santa Fe, was that a home or a restaurant?
No, those were restaurants
And-
that were developed along the
RV
Santa Fe
house.
Railroad.
Okay.
And, first one being in Topeka and then going west.
But you're requesting for the museum? And
I'm just requesting for the home that we're restoring here at 624 Olive, which is a historical,
Yes, it is.
wonderful landmark. And a lot of people don't know about him and how much he brought
Oh.
into the community way back in the late 1800s and early 1900s.
Yes, he was probably one of the biggest money makers in Leavenworth in
Yeah.
late 80s.
Well, and he also was presented the entrepreneur for the state of Kansas back in, I think it was 04. That we,
Yep, a lot of history in Leavenworth. Oldest
Right.
city in the territory and oldest city in the state, something like that. Very good. So we will have a meeting on the 2nd, and we'll decide what's left of what.
The meeting's on the 8th. It's the second meeting in May. So, but
The
it's
second
on the
meeting.
8th, not on the 2nd.
Oh, the second meeting.
The second is a Wednesday, and that's when we have our County Road 1 open house down at the fair.
Okay, be the second meeting. We'll have to. Go on. No, Jim. Got it? Okay. Next is mental health initiative. And that is Kim.
All right. I'm Kim Knight. I'm one of the assistant principals at Leavenworth High School. I think both of you guys are pretty in tune with Leavenworth Public Schools, but I'm going to go over some stuff with you. This is an initiative that we're really pushing for the next school year, so it would start in August. It's becoming kind of a crisis situation within the county and within our district especially. We have a lot of kids that are really struggling now, and I think have been previously, but it's really coming to a head at this point. We're trying to find a way to meet the needs of our kids, help them be more successful, get the help that they require and desperately need. So we're actually talking about creating a partnership. Right now, we're looking at doing this with the Guidance Center here in town. We'd like to keep all of our funds local. But I want to go through with you kind of the basic, the foundation of why this is really important. Our school board heard this presentation a few weeks ago. They were supportive of it. I can actually tell you that, and this is a rather sad story, but exactly at the time that I was presenting this to the board, we had a 9th grader that walked over to the Centennial Bridge and jumped and has been hospitalized since then. So, as I said, this is a crisis situation that we are hoping to get help from the county. So, kind of to start, I'll show you the basic at a glance. What we're looking at is creating something called the Pioneer Support Center. And the Pioneer Support Center, it would provide on-site licensed mental health support at both Leavenworth High School and Warren Middle School. So the idea right now, and this is in the pilot program, it would be a pilot program this next year, but we would house a licensed professional at Leavenworth High School 4 days a week, at Warren Middle School 1 day a week. And I'm going to show you some statistics here in a second that shows that the need is probably greater than that, but this is the best place to start. The determining need part, and I don't know how familiar you are with the statistics of mental health currently, but nationwide, 1 in 5 children has a diagnosable mental health disorder. Specifically, when we start looking at that, about 50% of all lifetime cases will begin around the age of 14. So that's one of the reasons we're really looking at that secondary level to start, so middle school and high school. But I specifically want to point this out, and there's these 2 statistics here that I think are vitally important to the county specifically. Approximately 50% of students age 14 and older with a mental health illness will drop out of high school. Okay, so they become basically our own problem to try to support without a high school diploma. On top of that, 70% of youth in the state and local juvenile justice systems have a mental illness. So we are supporting them in JDC. So our goal with this kind of program is to help keep them out of JDC and help keep them in school. Unfortunately, Leavenworth County, and this statistic I believe is from around 2004, but we have exhibited the highest rate of hospital discharges for mental health visits for ages 15 to 24 in the greater Kansas City area. So we have a very high rate of students and young adults who are receiving mental health hospitalization. However, we rank 105th out of 105 counties for access to mental health providers. Really, we have kind of small chunks of mental health care providers around, but when you compare our population to the number of providers, it's a very low amount of providers. I can tell you currently the high school, right now we have 2 students that are hospitalized for attempted suicide that are actually in the hospital. We have 8 that have recently been discharged for attempted suicide, and we have dozens that have been hospitalized for mental health conditions just this year alone. On top of that, we have students that go through crisis on a daily basis that you guys hear a lot about, and I'll kind of include some of those statistics throughout, but a big one that I wanted to point out on this one is 1 in 14 high school students have attempted suicide, and 1 in 7 have considered it. This is a big problem, and what makes me really sad is the statistic up here that says 90% of those that die by suicide had a diagnosable and treatable condition. If they don't get the help, then a lot of them come to that last resort. I want to point out just Leavenworth Public Schools, because I know that the county has been supportive of our schools in general, but in our strategic plan that we developed, I can show you that we as a district are definitely concentrating on our students. We believe all students can learn and are entitled to an equitable education, which ensures quality, nurtures self-esteem, and allows students to reach their greatest potential. I've said it over and over. I see it on a daily basis. I know at least Mr. Smith's wife did too. We see it on a daily basis, kids that cannot reach their greatest potential because they are literally battling demons inside. We also did actually include support services directly in our strategic plan. We talked specifically about building partnerships with the community organizations, which is why we've reached out to the Guidance Center. The Guidance Center has been supportive. They would like to join in a partnership with us. We are literally just to the funds point. We need to get the funds to lock in the partnership. We also talked specifically about providing access to K-12 counseling services. It's not just the strategic plan. I will point out to you that the Kansas Education Systems Accreditation, so there's a whole new accreditation process for schools. It's called KESA, and they do talk in KESA about working with the community. We are all about reaching out to the community, reaching out to our resources that we have, but we do talk about identifying and involving community members in the school improvement planning and long-range process, and we talk about and this is kind of one of those areas where it talks about empowering students, encouraging and empowering students. And so this is just another avenue to help our students reach their greatest potential. All right, so here are some of the benefits, and I know you probably have followed the news a little bit recently. School shootings and those kind of things have been in the news constantly. It is a concern daily. I can tell you I'm in charge of the crisis team at the high school, and we meet regularly talking about, how can we respond to this situation? How can we respond to that situation? Realistically, the best response is preventing it from happening. And so when we talk about the benefits, of course we have the benefits of increased student performance. We have kids that want to be at school. We have kids that are getting the support that they need. We have increased retention, so graduation rates. That bolstered campus security and safety is huge. People that are receiving the treatment that they need. We have reduced suicide rates, reduced substance abuse, which we have seen an increase in substance abuse at the secondary level as well. When we talk about the services, so this is where we get down to kind of the nitty-gritty to wrap your brain around how this would work. Basically, the services would be provided by what's known as an LSCSW. This is a licensed specialist clinical social worker. They would be an employee of the Guidance Center, so they would be housed at Leavenworth High School and Warren Middle School. So they are employed by the Guidance Center but work in our building. It would be divided up into what are known as billable and non-billable services. So if you know anything about the healthcare industry, some things can be billed insurance and some things can't. So we've gone through all of this with the Guidance Center to figure out kind of what could be billed, what couldn't be billed, and really the funds that we're asking for are to provide the funds for the non-billable services and some kind of catch-all. Because our plan right now is to bill insurance for the what we can, for the services they provide that we can bill. So the services that we could bill for would be things like psychological evaluations, mental health screenings, professional counseling. So students could actually have it kind of built into their schedules where they could receive individual therapy. We've talked about group therapy. This year alone, we have had 15 students that have lost a parent. And so being like a direct parent just this year. So having, a support group for students that lose a mom or lose a dad, that could be something that would be put together by an LSCSW. There could be family counseling. I've had stories about, students who are in crisis and crying in my office because they got thrown out of their house last night and their mom nailed the door shut and wouldn't let them back in. It's something where if we could provide an avenue for those students to meet with their family, that could make a huge improvement on, their school success as well. That would be the billable services. The non-billable services are the tricky part. One of them is crisis intervention, and I can tell you, being an assistant principal, I see kids in crisis a lot. So they're at the point of breaking point and reaching out. They go to the guidance center, or to the guidance department sometimes, but a lot of the time it's just acting out with behavior or getting to that point of sharing that they're suicidal, that kind of stuff. If we had somebody on hand that was trained to deal with this and could provide actual treatment to them, it would be a huge benefit. They could also provide staff professional development. We've done suicide trainings within the district. But having somebody there to help with that would be huge. And then student meeting attendance. So a lot of the time when a student is struggling, we have what's known as a student intervention team or an IEP meeting. When we have those meetings, we could include the LSCSW in those meetings. Basic logistics, we already have a referral process in place. And so basically a student concern could be brought up by the student themselves, by a staff member, a parent, literally anybody that comes in contact with the kid if they have a concern. It would be sent over to the LSCSW and our school social worker. So we have a half-time social worker. She would then contact the parents. They would give consent, and at that time, the student would be enrolled as a patient of the Guidance Center. Once they're enrolled as a patient of the Guidance Center, they can receive services from the LSCSW, and that would happen there at the school. So all their treatment would happen at the school. Just a couple of case studies I'll show you really quick. The state of Kansas is actually building this in through TASIN, one of their organizations within the state. They totally understand that this is necessary. The state actually just received, I want to say it's a $5 million grant that they are going to start funneling in to mental health initiatives within the school, but they have not started divvying that out, and apparently it won't happen until next year is when the application process is going to go in, and that is our plan, is to apply for funding through them. But as I said before, we're kind of at a crisis point, and we need to get this going before they can get those funds to us. Blue Valley is doing something like this, and I reached out to Blue Valley and Children's Mercy because their partnership is with Children's Mercy. Children's Mercy is more than willing to provide our services as well, and it is something that we could do. The only reason I lean away from them is because I'd like to keep the money local and filter it back into the Guidance Center here in town. They have 600 students that are receiving services currently. They have 19 social workers. That's the LSCSW. And it has to be that particular level of social worker because that's what insurance will cover. So that's why that was selected with the Guidance Center. Their services are not billed. So they do not actually submit any money to insurance or any claims to insurance. And they can do that because they have some local businesses that have opened up their pocketbooks. They have received over $500,000 in funding from local businesses and individuals to provide these services to their students. Everything that I've heard from them and from Children's Mercy has been extremely positive. Olathe, they're in year 3 of implementation for this. They've grown continuously. I talked to one of the assistant principals at Olathe North. He said that this was the biggest impact he's ever seen in a building. He's been in education for over 20 years, and he said that their big things that they've seen is a reduction in anger, a higher diagnosis of bipolar, anxiety, depression. When you get the diagnosis for those and you actually start receiving the treatment through the LSCSW, you can start to refer them to get needed medications and that kind of stuff, and make sure that they receive their counseling on a regular basis. So that's kind of the nitty-gritty overall. The estimated cost, that's where I had sent in our request for funds, is $42,500. That's our best guess with the Guidance Center as to what it will cost to run this for a year. We're looking at that covering, basically it's $85,000 for the salary of the LSCSW and the money to cover the processing for insurance and that kind of stuff through the Guidance Center. So their lowest cost possible. As Keith said over at the Guidance Center, they are not for profit as well. So this is about as cheap as we're going to get it. So $85,000 total. He expected, and we expect that we can recover about 50% of that from billing insurance, but the other 50% would cover the things like the non-billable services, any defaulted copays, because that would come back on us as well, and then non-insured students, because we want every single student to receive services, not dependent on whether or not they have insurance. So that's kind of the basics. What kind of questions do you guys have?
Started.
Okay. Is any money in the alcohol fund, is it available for stuff like this for youth?
Well, I asked for a copy of what alcohol funds are for.
Yeah, I got it.
And probably sounds like it is.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Especially when that one sentence in there, monies in the special fund shall be under the direction and control of the Board of County Commissioners.
But that Pat's committee is one of them.
Right. Right.
So, are there other questions you have?
No, it's not real flattering to be number one here.
I know. It's not.
Well, you did mention Olathe, depending where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on the time of the day, too.
Yeah.
And who was the other one?
Blue Valley.
Blue Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard, and talking to an individual the other day, that they get a lot of the hospitals are giving them money.
Yes. Yeah.
What is Cushing and St. John?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
Mm-hmm. So we have reached out. It has literally been kind of a pet project of mine that I do in my spare time after I get home, where I am emailing about everybody and calling. There is a mental health commission basically out of the state of Kansas that I've been contacting. I blindly reached out to the hospitals. Children's Mercy is the one that got back to me. We are actually next on their list to receive funds. They have a special flag for us in their philanthropy department that says anybody that would like to fund at-risk mental health, the funds will come straight to us, basically, to fund this project. But we've not had anybody jump yet. And that's where we kind of got to that point of we need to lock in something here sooner than later. And that's where, like, when I went to the district and they said, yes, this is something we desperately need, but with the state of funds in education in Kansas, it's, we're tapped out right now. This next year is going to be spent reaching out to just about everybody that we can to try to continue the funding for, years after that.
But you're well aware of when we give you money.
Mm-hmm. Oh, everybody's going to want some.
There's 4 more going to, 3 more are going to be in there. Lansing, 4 more. Tonganoxie, Bayshore, Linwood, and Easton.
Yes. My intention actually is to help them. So I've reached out to, I met with some people out of Atchison and Piper recently. I don't want this to just be 11 North High School, because I actually was asked by the Board of Education, like, well, why are you just looking at the high school? Why wouldn't we want this for every building? I want this for every building, and I want this for every building in the state of Kansas. I think it's necessary. But my hope is that by working with the other administrators, if we can put together a model that funds it through insurance and that kind of stuff, and then through the state of Kansas grants that they're getting federally, that this is not something that we would be asking for regularly. And I would want to help those other local buildings get this model in place.
Jimmy, our EMS is very much after insurance.
Yep.
You want it, you need to pay for it. Of course, I brought up fire and police protection. Nobody thinks that they ought to be paying for that. Well, you know, if my kid goes to school or I've had a kid in school, I know what I'm getting. I don't get anything from police. I get nothing. I don't get anything from fire because it's time they get to the house or the barn's burned down. So I get the feeling I see a lot of new fire trucks driving around. Big operations. So I don't, so the cities, they haven't given you anything?
Nope, not yet.
School district haven't given you anything?
The school district is kind of in that holding pattern of, we really need this to happen, and they're trying to support me, but they have no money. Well, not support me, they're trying to support the students.
That was my next thought. If special alcohol funds would be available for that, the city also gets their share of special alcohol funds.
Yes, they do.
So, I think that's where we need to be looking at this money.
Of course, the main thing to me, in my maturity, what has caused all this? Lousy parents. My God, I see parents that just came from a volleyball tournament in Texas. I'd never go back to Dallas in my life. But I'm seeing 78 teams with an average of 9 players per team. And I don't know how many parents were there. A lot of parents. So I see parents doing a good thing because we know if you keep involved, you don't have these problems. And every time I see something like this, I think, now what kid in my class ever committed suicide? I don't remember one.
It is definitely an increasing problem. And I
Society.
wish I had an answer for what causes it.
You sit there and you're watching the same lady every day, Eisenhower and 20th Street, in a silver Dodge Plymouth. You can't tell them apart. So if you're listening, ma'am, she's stopping there. I'm way back about 100 yards, idling down. By the time I get there, I'm going about 2 miles an hour. And that lady has to recognize that she can go because she's talking on the phone. Unsafe intersection. But this is not a young girl. This is probably a late 30-year-old. Didn't see her out of the car, so I couldn't tell if she had tattoos or what. There's something causing this, and we're not getting the stats on it to say, forget about it. You're not going to save too many kids. It just isn't there to save too many kids. I don't know why. Some things are not savable. So we can give up roads. Don't need a good road. I guess then some of the parents would be upset because they're traveling down a rough road. Save kids. And I'd like to see some stats return that, you know, we're now kicking in how many millions of dollars and how many it saved. Has to be a stat somewhere. But I don't see anybody else participating and save your time in life. If you can't come back, you know, we got people that sponsor football, baseball, basketball. God, the kids don't want to play football, basketball, and no, they got to have nice uniforms. They got to have this, that. Got to have a kicking goal. You know, well, Dad, buy your kid a kicking goal, and you'll get a scholarship somewhere. But if you can't come back, because I see all these other school districts, they're going to ask me,
I hope so.
Yeah.
If the county's
Open the
number
door.
one, I hope there's
Well,
going to be other school
we'll give
districts
her
getting
number
involved.
one position because she opened the door. That means you get a dollar more than the other.
Okay.
But I would hope that you could come back and say, some of our major businesses, I've looked at this, and they're really, this is what they're going to get. Because I don't want to open the door for another thing. Got Northeast Mental Health. They can't handle it. Now we're going to have it in the schools. Every school has to have a school nurse now. They got to go through special training. God, I don't ever remember seeing a nurse. That would be after kids out there doing little fisticuffs. So, my personal opinion, save you time if you can't come back with somebody that wants to be a participant, other than the county. I'll mention we're getting $97 million, but we're spending it on roads. The city of Leavenworth's getting over $50 million. We're not spending on anything yet. Not the sewer lines, well, they're paying on that $83 million. What's Lansing paying? You know, I used to think Leavenworth had more problems than Lansing, but as you read the police reports, Lansing's almost up there. So, I appreciate you coming in. And hopefully, you can get somebody. I will not vote to give the organization money if you can't come. I don't see your name on here anymore, ma'am. Yeah, I know it. Go ahead.
Since a lot of the students are probably repeat offenders that are ending up in JDC, I'm wondering if there is, much like the behavioral health grant that the adult community corrections applies for, which deals with substance, mental evaluations, treatment.
Right.
If you couldn't somehow connect with them, that they could apply for state grants through that, since you are kind of
Getting the,
having the same kids.
yeah, we are. We definitely are.
So that may be something you might want to
Yeah,
look into.
I will. Absolutely.
Come to
They
the,
actually, part of that grant, they can actually pay for a provider.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll look into that. Yeah.
Thank you, Rhonda.
and come to the JCAB board meeting. Lucas, you know Lucas? Can you get her that contact information with Lucas?
That'd be great.
And there's just so many, I don't know how many homeless are out there. There's some kind of mental illness or wanting to assume a responsibility. The parents, if you got any, you know you got a father and a mother.
Right.
Unless you-
Not all of our kids have anybody in their house, though.
Yep.
I mean, we have hundreds of kids that are living with random relatives or McKinney-Vento kids, or they don't have. They've been deemed homeless. That don't have that stability to get them to any kind of treatment facility or anything like that.
Personal question, am I a failure? No. Thank you, Grandma. Thank you, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Thank you occasionally, Mom. Thank you occasionally, Dad. Grandma and Grandpa. See, they don't even have Grandma and Grandpas now. It's something has caused this, and I don't know what it is and how to stop it. And look at all the homeless. They're just. A guy was talking to me today. Said, "Yeah, well, you think Leavenworth's bad? You ought to go out to L.A. right there by the new L.A. Stadium for the baseball team." I got it. And they close it down every one day a week, in a sense, so they can go down and get all the needles out of the streets, all the human waste up off of the. It looks like it's about 2 miles long, where they're just living in tents, no water necessarily. They turn a water meter on, so. And you hate to look at these things like wasted money, but something has to be a statistic. You have to go somewhere. Either you're just pilfering money also. So, you have any more questions?
No, I think you
Jim,
provided the most important statistic.
Yeah.
That we have the highest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to see you tonight, Joe. Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like?
Let's see, since we met last, let's see, I attended Linwood City Council meeting.
Okay.
When I went to the Lansing Correctional Facility groundbreaking ceremony for the new prison, public-private partner there.
Right.
It was a real nice turnout for that. Went to the LCDC meeting since then, and the big one was Counseling on Aging, fundraising dinner Friday night. That was
And you got in
huge.
this time.
I did get in. I purchased my ticket ahead of time.
There you go. Smart man.
We're just going to have to find a bigger place that has really got a lot of public support to come to that fundraiser. It's really good. And I went to the grand opening of the new barn on County Road 25, the chalet, what's it called? Country Chalet. That is really a nice facility. I mean, they put a significant investment in that property. I hope they do well. I mean, it's just a really nice area. Can't see it from the road. You have to drive down the driveway. It's once you get in there, it's really nice.
Is it a hard service driveway?
It is concrete. Concrete.
Money.
And the outdoor wedding area is, the sod was so thick it was like walking on carpet. It's in the building they have. It's really nice.
I go to the one up in up the road a bit, not Twins, but talking about up in Atchison.
Mm-hmm.
Good food. Love going there. Last 5 miles are all gravel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on gravel. Yeah, Cedar. What's it called? Cedar or something. Cedar Ridge. Yeah.
I just call it good chicken.
Yeah. No, it's a good place to eat.
Yep. So.
But yeah, I'm glad they got that down in that part of the county.
We're getting a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
All seem to be making it.
Yeah.
But staff got anything else? We still got 10 minutes because in a mutual agreement we had go to 7.
Sure, we could bring Kim back up. We can talk some more.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like a good one. I wish I hadn't come now.
Okay. You ready for a motion to adjourn?
I'm ready for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks for coming.